What's up, y'all? Hey, hi. It's your girl Bree from Bree's Bookish, and we are the Black Comic Lords here to chat all things Shook, the horror anthology, and we have some of the contributors here. And I'd love for everybody to just go around round robin style and introduce yourself. Let's start with you, Bradley.
I'm Bradley Gold, and I'm CEO and president of Second Sight Publishing. I'm writer for Shook, the story Tasty Itchy, and Eva Lives.
I'm Marcus Roberts. I am the COO of Second Sight Publishing and the collection editor for Shook. I have two stories in the book as well.
Hi, I'm Evan Park. I'm one of the contributors, and I am contributing one story to the book called The Removers. And this is my first foray into the comic book world, the graphic novel world.
All right. First of many, hopefully.
Oh, yeah,
And-
definitely.
And I'm Derek Harrison. I'm one of the members of the Black Comic Lords. I'm not a contributor, but just along for the ride this evening and also producing the show.
Yes, big ups to Derek. Awesome. Well, all right. So, anybody who is in the live, make sure that you leave us some comments. Let us know where you're watching from and drop any questions that you might want asked. And I'll do my best to get to them as well. We want to make sure we hear from you guys. Thank you for coming out and checking out the Black Comic Lords and to hear all about Shook. So, let's just get right into it. They have graciously agreed to give away a copy of Shook to someone in the live audience. So make sure you drop your comments so that way you can be thrown in the pot to potentially be a winner. And we've got our introductions out of the way. So first of all, when they asked me did I want to participate in this, I was like, it's called Shook. Sign me up. I'm here for it. They know the vibes. So I'd love to hear from you guys. What made you decide to name the anthology Shook in the first place?
Well, it all started with conversations that we had with John Jennings. John, and being a horror fan, a horror writer himself, would always talk with Bradley and I just about all things horror. And when we were putting the book together, John said, well, look, I had an idea for a magazine some years ago that was horror he was thinking more articles and things like that. But we were like, okay, well, we were trying to put a horror anthology together. And if you already have a title, then, it's like the old commercial, you got your chocolate and my peanut butter. Like, okay, let's put these two things together because we know it'll work. The title Shook actually was something that, as I mentioned, John and Stacy Robinson had ideas or thoughts of putting a magazine together. And they were going to entitle it Shook. And it never came to fruition. So John said, hey, I have the title. I have the logo design. I'm ready to use it. So we said, okay, we'll take it.
That's awesome, taking an idea and running with it. I seen on the Kickstarter that the story that John Jennings contributed was actually one of the first stories that he's ever written, and he's just been holding on to it all this time. So that's pretty awesome that the title came from that too. So it's like he had the vision and he just needed the team to get the thing going. So that's what's up.
It was really just a matter of timing because Bradley and Bradley can talk about this more, but Bradley and I, as I said, have been already talking about the anthology. Mm-hmm. So I said, Bradley, who do you know? And Bradley's response was, and you take it away, Bradley.
Well, first, I reached out to Rodney Barnes. I had talked to him prior about doing something with the company, and he was, he's heard of Second Sight. He wanted to do something with us. At the time, we really didn't have anything, So when this project came about, me and Marcus talked about it. I'm like, the first issue, we need to have a who's who of talent in the comic book community that's like the elite black, well, I call it black excellence when it comes to comic books. And at the top of my list was Rodney Barnes, you know what I'm saying, Kevin Grievous, Brandon Easton, David Walk, all those guys. Then Kevin talked with Marcus about Evan. Then when he was like, Evan boy, who? He like King Kong, you know, King Kong. I'm like, oh, the captain. I'm like, yeah, and just so happened I was watching that movie the night before. I'm like, yeah. Then, you know, one thing led to another. Evan, like, you know, this is first foray into comics, and I'm like, what better way for him to get his work seen to be listed and his stuff shown in this big book full of, I call them what they are, A-listers. You know what I'm saying? And Alvin Ball, you know, he's on board. He's done a lot of great things, won a lot of awards, whatnot. So that's mainly how I started. One thing led to another. Then, you know, Mark and of course John down for whatever. You know what I'm saying? Let's do it.
Nice. Yeah. When I take a peek at the list of all of the contributors, it's pretty insane. You guys have like
black excellence.
A slew of accolades and awards that, you know, you can attribute to your name. So I was definitely very much impressed by that. My only gripe is where the horror ladies at, but we'll leave that for another live.
That's Shook too. Shook too is gonna be all ladies of color.
Okay, cool. So you're already leading into one of my other questions.
Absolutely.
Okay, there's plans to do it now. All right, now you know I was coming for you a little bit.
Let's go back up off me now. Back up off me now. We got you. We got you.
When we
all right. I'll put my soapbox away. I won't hop on that since we got plans to include the ladies too.
When we put this book together, we did not leave out anyone. It's just when we thought about the horror people specifically, and names were popping up, we were like, okay, we have a name here, a name here. Let's put all those names together and all these names together. Yeah. So as Bradley said, volume 2 is an all black woman volume, all black horror writers. It is, we're going to give the ladies the opportunity to show out.
Show them what you can do. Shine.
We actually did. We actually did, because people looked at the lineup and they asked, well, where are the women at? And I'm here to clarify, we did not intentionally leave any women out. We didn't want them to get lost in the crowd. We wanted them to have their own so they can shine.
Okay. All right. I will keep like I said, I'll keep my soapbox in the background. Awesome. Your wife loves horror. Oh, where can you find the book? We'll definitely give you all of the details towards the end, so stay tuned. Let's keep into our questions. All right. So we already know that it's described as a Black Horror Anthology. And I seen somewhere that John Jennings specifically refers to it as a Southern Gothic horror. So I'd love to hear, like, that sounded like something very specific to his description. So I'd love to hear from you guys, like, what is your elevator pitch, like your quick one-liner that you give to describe the book to people who are interested in it?
Oof.
You gotta get on line.
I'm saying that one line, I would say it's a cornucopia of horror ideas. Period.
Okay. Bradley got his one-liner. Where you at, Marcus?
I would say that this is a Southern Gothic style horror book set out to thrill and entertain.
Okay, that's a good one. Where you at, Evan?
Oh, I could give you one. One just came to me because I knew you were coming to me. I would say, I would say Black Horror Stories for the Global Marketplace.
Okay, okay. Well, I'm not even gonna hold you. I came up with my own little elevator pitch because people in my book club were like, "What are you doing? What's your thing that you're doing?" So I pretty much told them, I was like, a whole bunch of horror A-listers got together and decided that they wanted to give us Tales from the Hood, but on the page. I
Oh,
mean,
Tales from the Hood.
then you like got a nostalgic reference point, and people are like, "Oh, that sounds really dope." So feel free to steal mine, if you want to use
Well,
my
mm,
elevator
can,
pitch.
can
mm.
I come
I
up with
want
another
you.
one? Can I come up with another one?
Yeah,
Uh,
yeah.
I would call it the dream team of horror, because originally when we were putting things together, uh, Bradley and I were talking about the dream team, like when the first dream team was put together.
Mhm.
In the Olympics, as we know the story, we were using college players and whatnot, and they were getting beat because other countries were using the pros. So they were like, y'all don't want us to put our pros together because, and we put the pros together, put the dream team together, and that dream team spanked the world. So,
Come on, somebody.
so when we were putting this book together, we were like, we getting ready to put this dream team together. And Bradley and I joke, I told him, hey, I'll be Christian Laettner. I don't care. Look at the lineup in this book.
Shit, I'll be Shaq, man. I'll be up on the go. Hey, I'm waiting on, I'm just waiting. I'm posted up. Hey.
Yeah, the lineup definitely stands on its own. So I'll give it to you. You could definitely just sit back and let it speak for itself. But I like where you guys are going with your elevator pitches too. Okay, Richard asked, who are your favorite horror writers?
Mm. Wes Craven for me.
Okay.
It's hard to just say one because the majority of my horror experience is in comic books,
Okay.
comic book anthologies dating back from uh, the underground comics. But I will say the one that stands out the most is Wayne Howard. I was following him from his first work, the first book he did in 1960, I think that was seven, The Web of Shadows. He was the artist on that book,
Mhm.
and he was the writer and creator of the Midnight Tales.
Okay. Do you have any favorite horror writers, Evan?
It's funny. They probably wouldn't be, because I'm not as versed on the comic book side when it comes to horror. But as far as movies and books, I'd probably say Steven Spielberg. Not Steven
Okay.
Spielberg. I'm sorry. Not Spielberg. Who's not Spielberg from The Shining? I'm sorry. Um,
Stephen King.
Stephen
King,
King. Not
King.
Spielberg. Nah, Stephen King. Um, yeah, Stephen King probably. But I also like sci-fi twist to horror as well. Uh, so one of my favorite. This actually is considered a horror movie. Aliens is considered a horror movie, and that's sci-fi horror, which is
For sure.
huh?
I said for sure.
Yeah. So that
Gordon says it is a dream team of horror, no doubt, and I have to agree. Like I said, that lineup speaks for itself. The lineup alone is leaving people shook. So if you make it past that, you already know you got to pick up the book, so that way you can get the full shook experience. All right,
And
so
I
we're
have to mention this about the lineup as well. It is, according to Yumi Odom, largest collection of Glyph Comics Award winners and nominees in one book.
yeah, I was shook looking at the list of all of y'all's accolades, and it seems like a lot of you guys wear many hats within the industry, so that blew me away in and of itself. So I was like, all right, I can't be my expectations were super high, and they were very much met by the stories that I had the pleasure of being able to read ahead of time. So yeah, let's just get into it. One of the things that I noticed in reading, which story was it? In reading Tasty Itchy, was it was definitely amplified by the art style. If you could share, yeah. All right. So this is just a little taste, y'all, of one of the pages within Tasty Itchy. And the art style to me just felt so grimy and gross and bloody and gory. And it's in this like post-apocalyptic scenario. So to me, the art style lended this feeling of like tight-knit terror of like there could be anything around any corner, and it's just a bloody mess because they're literally all that's left. So I'm curious, how did you guys go about choosing who was going to lend their art to bring your stories to life?
Well, with me with Tasty Itchy, um, the story was meant to be like grim, show dread throughout, and I saw Flavio um samples. He did a story of I want to say it's pre um Val- Valvatorian, I think, and just this old guy going up the stairs. The way he shined the light on the guy's back, and his shadow hit the wall, and like it portrayed it was scary. I'm like it was simple but scary.
Yeah.
So that's when I chose him for this, and I tasked him with doing the first 2 pages because the first 2 pages were actually the New Orleans bombed out, dead bodies, all over the ground, roaches crawling on the bodies. You can see um, children, with their eyes being told, you know, bowled out by roaches and whatnot, and the people walking around in these made up hazmat suits because of the air is very poisonous.
Yeah.
And when he did those 2 3 pages, he nailed the feel that I was going for through the whole story. Then, as the story progressed, the color of the actual panels changed from the grimy, nasty red to the um, blue, neon, nightlight. So, yeah, dread and grim.
Ugh. All right, so I'm like kind of a noob when it comes to horror. When I tell y'all, this is not me just gassing them up because we're in this live together. This story legit gave me the heebie-jeebies, and I'm gonna tell y'all why. Because I do not like bugs. I don't like things that crawl, and there are flesh-eating cockroaches in this story.
That's
That's all
not
I had
all.
to say, and I was immediately skeeved out.
That's not all in that story, but yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
no, that's just the tip. You literally just start with that terrifying concept of like, I already don't like roaches, but now they're gonna eat my flesh too. Post-apocalyptic, like hide your kids, hide your wife, find some gear so that you don't get ate up. Oh man, super creepy, super creepy. Um, let's see. Yeah, the Flavio's art, like I said, it's like oozing grime and oozing blood throughout the whole thing, and the style changes a little bit, but it gives you that initial like it puts you in the scenario yourself so that you kind of just feel like you're getting itchy yourself. So top tier. Love that story. Let's see. Another story that I had the pleasure of reading and reviewing was John Jennings' story, The Breaks. And it was it was really good because it touched on so many things, but in like a easy flowing, smooth type of way. Like it's about a woman who break dancer, and she contracts AIDS, and she's dealing with the potential transition of her life. and it touches on all of these different things. And I was like, wow, you hit on like hip hop culture, Black pop culture, AIDS pandemic, the transition of life and how what you value in your life and what you haven't. And then there's some cool pop culture references in there too. So another awesome story is like a complete transition of theme, because Tasty Itchy is like nightmare fuel scary, whereas The Breaks is scary in the sense of like, you know, you can be this vibrant, flourishing person and have so many different aspects to your life, and then one misstep or one transition because of an illness could be the end of your life, and then how you view your life together. So that was more like is giving more like Twilight Zone-ish Jordan Peele vibes in this particular story, but still terrifying, just in a totally different way. So I'm curious, the departure between those stories makes it very clear that each of the stories are going to give you some culturally horrific story, but are there any like main themes that are consistent through all of the rest of the stories?
Well, I wouldn't say that there was a main theme as the collection editor and talking with the different writers about what it was they wanted to do, getting a feel for their stories. I realized that we will in this one book cover or hit on all the corners of horror, all the subgenres within it. As you just mentioned, the transition from Bradley's story to John's story, it being different in texture, but yet is still something that's horrific. Uh, as the reader goes through the book, he's going to get a taste of everything. Uh, David Walker, for example, his horror story is more comical and satirical, yet is still horror. Uh, there's sci-fi thriller. There's superhero horror. Evan will touch on his story, I'm sure, and then Kevin Grievous's story is more along the lines of that superhero horror that you would find with Brother Voodoo, Blade, that type of thing. Even my story is more sci-fi horror than straight horror story with creatures, vampires, that type of thing. So the whole intention was to give the reader a sample of everything we had to offer.
You guys are definitely all across the board, because I have in my notes there's vampires, superheroes, zombies, nymphs, gods. That you guys are all across the board with ways to terrify us. So you already kind of gave us the vibe for your story, Marcus. I didn't get to read yours or Evan's, but Evan, what would you say is the vibe for your story?
My vibes are definitely sci-fi, superhero horror-ish. And the short itself, you don't see as much of the superhero elements in that. That's going to come out more. I'm writing a larger feature based on that property. So it's more, I tell you, I don't know if I mentioned this when in the video I did, but the story itself is called The Removers, and it was inspired by a ex-girlfriend of mine who used to be a remover. And I remember when we were dating, I'd asked her, if in case the audience doesn't know what removers are, typically when someone dies, then that person goes to get the body from wherever it died and brings it to either the medical examiner or to the funeral home.
Oh, wow.
And she was doing this in college because her family's in that funeral business. She grew up, her father had 3 funeral homes. Her brother has a removal business where he has contracts with certain counties in different states. So she was going to college in actually one of the states, I think it's University of Maryland. and she was like 19, and that was her side job, was going to do the rest of us did work study. She'd go pick up bodies, you know. And you see this pretty, you see this pretty young lady, and you know, pretty young sorority girl going to pick up bodies, and you don't expect that when she shows up. She's a girl who's coming to get the body, and she'd go by herself a lot of times. So one time I asked her, you know, have you ever been freaked out? Because typically people like that are not freaked out by that stuff. And there was two specific instances she had described to me. And then I said, well, what if I took that instance and made a horror out of it, you know? And sort of that's where it came from, you know? And so, of course, the sci-fi thing got added on in a later iteration of it. But that's the cool thing, I think, about being in this world, is that you can take any story, you know, and you can do whatever you want with it. You can create the world. And, you know, specifically when you're talking about horror and sci-fi, of course, there's psychological horrors, I guess, in real life to some degree. There are horrors, but just in movies and stuff like that, or in comic books, you can create or totally create a whole world, or take something and just try and spin it around, and it becomes an interesting story. So that's where mine came from. I know it's a long explanation, but yeah.
No, that's great. We needed that context, because I definitely didn't know what a remover was. And we were just thinking about that. It definitely takes a different type of person to be able to compartmentalize, like, I'm just picking up dead bodies. So that's crazy. But that's also very cool. I definitely missed Gordon's question. He asked, did John do the art on the breaks too?
The artist for John for this story is Charlie Goebel.
Okay.
This is, you mentioned about this being one of John's first stories. This is one of the few, if not only, stories that John didn't do the artwork on. He was just the writer.
Okay. Cool.
So
cool. Yeah.
He was
I'm a big fan of his art.
yeah. You know, that's the thing about John. We go way back to the days of Black Kirby. So just him being a part of this was an important thing.
Very cool. Very cool. Let's see. You guys are breezing through my questions. Okay, so even though they're all following different themes, just within the horror genre, I'm curious, what place are you hoping that this anthology fills for readers? Like, what message, feeling, or energy do you want readers to take away from experiencing this anthology?
Well, for one, it is not your typical horror anthology. The stories definitely, as you have seen, they have a certain slant to them. They come from more of a Black perspective. You mentioned about John and the Southern Gothic horror. You'll find stories in there that that definitely originate from the South or have that type of feel, and from a different perspective, not the more straightforward type of thing that you're used to seeing.
Yeah, I can definitely attest to that. Another of the stories that I had the pleasure of reviewing was Rodney Barnes' story, The Last March. And this story was terrifying just because, I mean, just considering what, even today, people in the South have to typically deal with when you're talking about KKK and things like that. In this particular story, for those who haven't been able to read it yet, a community figure is taken by the KKK, and they're preparing to lynch him. And he essentially brings forth his ancestors, but in zombie form, to make the Klansmen reconsider what they're doing. And it's horrifying, but I'm not going to even hold y'all. I laughed from a healthy place reading this story because you think most of the time when you get these short stories, there's like this quick little feel good moment or this moment of dread that makes you like reflect, right? In this particular story, it's like it starts off with the big nope of it all, like this is terrifying, like nobody likes to think about the KKK, whatever, la la la. And they get their just desserts. There's a moment where you think it's going to be like oh, let's have a kumbaya. Everybody learns that they're, making a mistake or whatever. Nah, buddy, you're about to catch this. You're about to catch this gruesome end because you're a horrible human being and you deserve it. I love a good moment of just no, you're gonna get exactly what you deserve. You're just desserts, and we get to have that like sweet spot at the end where you cackle maniacally to yourself because it wasn't a fairy tale ending and you probably should have been rooting for one, but instead you like to see them just get their just desserts. That was my favorite part of that story for sure.
Well, I'll tell you, as a collection editor,
Uh-huh.
the putting the stories together and being able to read the stories first, it is a pleasure that when this story came across the board for editing, I mean, I was like, man, I can't wait for the book to come out. I gotta get this story because it is everything that you described, and then just we paired Rodney up with one of the most talented guys out there, David Brame. David actually is an artist on is Nana the Were Spider. So he definitely is somebody who knows exactly what to do and how to do it.
Yeah.
So I think it was a good pairing here.
Yeah, that was definitely a thoughtful match because it was portrayed perfectly. I thoroughly enjoyed that story as well. Let's see. Okay, so we already talked about the artist too. Okay, so what I know that you guys are all fellow comic lords, so I want to know like how what are the books that got you into comics in the first place?
Well, with me, it wasn't necessarily books. It was the horror movies. Cause growing up, I watched every horror movie from the early '80s up.
Okay.
Every Tuesday, me and my family would get together, have this special dinner, pile around the TV, and either watch a horror movie or action movie. Most times it's gonna be the horror movie. So with me, what got me into comics, believe it or not, it was this old movie called House. A lot of you probably don't know what that is, but it's a B movie. It's about this family that was this writer moved into this house that was owned by this older lady. But what the people who were selling the house didn't tell him was every night at midnight in the old woman's closet, doorway to another dimension would open up, and demons and monsters would come into the house to looking for food or just straight up mischief. So that with of course Freddy Krueger and Jason, Michael Myers, all of those guys got me into loving horror, and from that point on, my first comic I read was X-Men. I wasn't really into the whole superhero things, so I'm like, why not do a horror comic based on the '80s and the '90s slasher into a comic book? So that's how I got into it.
Very cool, very cool. What about you, Marcus?
I am what's referred to as a generational comic book reader.
Okay.
My father actually read comic books, and introduced me to comic books at an early age. I think that's probably the first books that I read. And then they were war comic books. And from the war comic books, uh, I saw a Weird War comic book.
Mm-hmm.
And with that Weird War comic book, it was a horror story based in a war setting. And from there, I just kind of drifted more into the horror, the old horror lines, Tales from Suspense, Vault of Evil, uh, what's that? The Supernatural Thrillers line. The Supernatural Thrillers line was special for me because with the Living Mummy, I found out the Living Mummy was black. So I definitely, it's like, okay, yeah, I could definitely do this. Actually, the first black character that had his own title, first black horror character that had his own title, even before Blade, because Blade just made appearances in the Tomb of Dracula. And that's for all of the black comic lords out there, just throwing that out there. It's a Supernatural Thrillers #5. Put that on your pull list. I saw somebody ask about a pull list. Put that on your pull list. Supernatural Thrillers #5, The Living Mummy.
Okay.
But yeah, that, and then the underground comics movement, the eerie, creepy, all the Warren publications. Charlton Comics had a long line, Ghostly Manor, Haunted. DC itself had the House of Mystery, the House of Suspense. Like I said, Weird War, Weird Mystery, and all the Marvel books. So I've been in the horror for a long time.
Nice. Well, what about you, Evan? Are you a fellow Black comic lord? Are you what comics got you into collecting comics, if you do?
Yeah, it's funny. No, I haven't gotten into collecting comics yet. I'm similar to probably Bradley, where it was more movies that got me into horror movies, and especially growing up. You know, we never went to the movies growing up so much, because I came up in one of those families where people didn't go to the movie house, right? And then so funny, I ended up in the movies, but I remember watching stuff like Omen. Anything where you dealt with killing monsters, even though Omen was a kind of psychological, but like I said, sci-fi, aliens, Shining, anything where you had to defeat a monster, The Ring. So I was into those sort of kind of horror stories. And the first graphic novel, was funny, that I ever bought was The Walking Dead. And the reason I bought it was because I wanted to read for it. I knew somebody told me it was a graphic novel. I said, let me go get the graphic novel because I wanted to read for it. And my boy ended up doing the role I wanted to play. So that was my first graphic novel. And then I bought a few more. I bought one actually from a movie I did, which is a graphic novel, but it's not a horror. But so for me, it was more out of movies. And now, this being my first comic book, it's funny. And I have to credit Kevin Grievous for bringing me in and introducing me to it. Because when we met, when we were doing a movie about, man, it's 20 years already. Yeah. We did a movie 20 years ago. He was telling me from back then, have you ever met Kevin? I'm gonna imitate his voice. You got to do it. That's all right. And he would encourage me to do that. So, and now sort of I see the possibilities and enjoy it. Like I literally, I'm doing removers in the show, but literally my next 1-2 a Polaris, and there's another one called Frederick and John that actually Kevin told me to do as a graphic when I was describing the idea to him. My next 2 are going to be graphic novels after this. But so this is going to be basically the beginning of my collection.
Oh, I love that. And not a lot of people can boast that. My introduction to comics was writing my own comic. Okay, I see you, Evan. That's what's up. I missed the comment. They're asking what are on you guys' pull list right now? What comics are you checking for outside of Shook?
Philadelphia,
Fact.
Blackula. Gotta get that Blackula. Come on.
Yes.
Uh, something is killing the children.
Solid pick.
Oh yeah.
Nita Hall's Nightmare Blog.
Woo! Speak.
Yeah, I'm gonna say that one too. A few X-Men, X-Men been lacking lately. But a
Tell
few.
about it, Bradley.
A few X-Men. I might do a Batman here and there, but DC is just this. That's mainly it for now.
Okay.
I'm collecting old stuff. I'm still filling out my collection. The modern books, I cannot tell a lie. I hadn't really gravitated toward collecting many of them, but I have been on a mission for decades, and that's collecting comic book covers with Black characters. So,
There we go.
My collection, for example, I mentioned the House of Mystery from DC. They had like a total of 361 issues, but they only had like maybe 8 or 9 covers that had Black people on it. So I want those 8 or 9 covers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I used to read Conan the Barbarian back in the day. And out of that entire run, 100, 200 issues, they only had like 10 issues that had Black people on it. So I'm collecting those issues. So I'm very purposeful in how I'm spending this money. Because I don't know, it's not that I guess the stories aren't good now. It's just nothing has really caught my attention. Now, if it's horror, like I mentioned, the Nita Halls, Rodney, anything Rodney's doing, and not just because these guys are in this book, but Bitterroot with David, I love that.
Excellent.
Brandon, you can't. Mr. Miracle that Brandon Easton did was probably one of the only modern books that I actually took time to read because I loved his spin on it.
Okay.
And with Kevin Grievous, I'm still waiting on new movies and stuff. And it was interesting getting him this book because it was like, hey Kevin, I see you writing. You had the Jen comic book over here, and you had this other comic book over here with some zombies. We need you to do something for us. And he's like, okay, yeah. Or as Evan said, you got to do the voice. Okay, yeah.
I don't know. It's even deeper than that.
That's so cool. Yeah, that's what I love about this space. Like, there's no one way to be a comic collector. So I hear where you're coming from, Marcus, because I'm the same type of way. I'm strictly like trying to collect women of color in comics because that's even, it's even less on that side of it. So, yeah. But I will say, like, right about now is like a sweet spot where they're giving us a lot more than what there has been in the past. So it's been definitely heavy on the pockets, but I feel you about curating how your collection is going to look. So I love that. Bryant says, since you guys love horror, what in real life scares you, and will those fears show up in this book? That's an excellent question. Very similar to mine.
I go on there. I go first.
I was saying, what's the last story you read that left you shook?
Well, I mean, the last story I read that left me shook was it's this horror movie. It was called Ravenous.
Okay.
And all it was this serial killer that would eat people. It doesn't matter if it's women or children, men, it doesn't matter. I actually have a story. Working title was called Evil Lives. It's got a guy who was sentenced to death that was it was this doctor who was interrogating him.
Mm-hmm.
Well, she was trying to get work through his psyche, all his craziness and crazy talk and whatnot, and see where he buried or where he put this young girl. But come to find out, it wasn't just her. It was a few other black kids that he's been abducting through the neighborhood, killing them, eating certain parts of them, and having them stacked up in this room. I'm trying to give you a little info without giving too much away.
Yes.
But
well, I'm already shook just from
the
what you
said. The way he was doing those girls is based on an actual serial killer that did women and young girls like that in real life.
Oh gosh. Okay, so I'm gonna just pick on y'all
So,
now. You already gave your story that left you shook, but to Brian's question, what are things that scare you in real life?
Oh, wow.
Y'all, Marcus and Evan, y'all be thinking about your answers because I'm coming for y'all next.
No, I have my answer already.
I'm saying she all on me right now, but hold on.
That's
not me. That's Brian's question. I just asked about stories.
I tell you what scares me in real life is terrorism. Period.
Yeah, that's definitely scary for sure. Does that show up in Shook terrorism?
In a way.
Okay. You guys weren't playing about touching all your faces.
Oh no.
All right, Evan, you next.
Yeah.
What's the last story that left you shook?
The last story that left me shook, or what scares me in real life?
You got to do both. So start with the story.
All right.
Brad did it. You know.
What's the last?
Right in.
What's the last story that I got to really think hard about? Like, is a book or movie or?
Yeah, any story.
God, that's a tough one. You know, the one on my mind, although I know this is probably not the one I should be thinking of, is I found the concept of The Ring. Well, no, was it The Ring? What was a horror I watched? The Ring was The Ring was, to me, the idea of somebody coming out the TV. That to me was trippy.
Oof, yeah, The Ring was super creepy. It was the fingernails for me.
Yeah, that's them coming out the TV. I was like, oh, this is a wrap. It comes out the TV, it's a wrap. No way, there's no way out, right?
Yeah.
But there was another movie I just recently saw, and it was really, really creepy, man. It was, I think Ethan Hawke it was a horror with Ethan Hawke.
Uh-huh.
Ooh,
I know what you're talking about. Sinister. I actually did a homage cover for that movie on my These Damn Kids book.
Huh?
Sinister. Yeah, Sinister. That's it.
Sinister. There was another one too. And then I know you said one, but that one with Ethan Hawke, I think was something that the daughter killed him. It was the weirdest thing.
Sinister. Yeah, that was Sinister.
Yeah, the Sinister.
That was Sinister. Yeah, and the monster. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I just saw it too, man. You guys know what I'm talking about.
The Black
Phone. People go in the house and the mom gets possessed to kill the kids. What movie is that?
Oh man.
That movie's crazy. John Cusack in it.
It's right there. Oh man. I know what you're talking about.
That was nuts. I mean, I remember watching it. Y'all need to see talk about black horror, right?
Look how big Evan's eyes got. He's reliving it, y'all.
You watch it, right? You know certain things supposed to happen, or it's not gonna be scary. Like you're watching this movie, and you're thinking to myself, as soon as I saw the dog not coming in the house, y'all remember the movie. As soon as I saw the dog not wanting to come in the vacation home, I'd be like, yo, what's wrong with Fido? He don't want to come in the house. Well, there might be a reason he don't want to come in the house. Let's all go outside, go to the hotel, and figure this out. Because Fido might be trying to tell us something. What movie was that? I remember. You know what I'm talking
I
about?
can't figure out the name. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, man.
If they would just listen to the dog,
no,
it'd been a short movie.
The Conjuring? No, it wasn't The Conjuring.
It wasn't The Conjuring.
Wasn't The Conjuring. But that was creepy. When I'm gonna find it, tell y'all, I'm gonna find it over here. That joint right there.
So this is what we got to do to get Evan's juices flowing, talking about these movies, because he's already writing another story. Y'all gonna have to change the credits.
Oh no. Yeah.
Said,
Now,
what's wrong with Fido?
My next story gonna be Room 1408. Like that's gonna be my next story. Room 1408, about the room that's haunted. You go in there, nobody come out alive. Yeah,
I didn't see that.
That's gonna be my next one. It's got Samuel Jackson in it. Oh, it's awesome. It's awesome.
I gotta see that. I'm gonna find that movie.
All right, so Evan, when you write this story, what's wrong with Fido? You gotta make sure that you give me a credit for this title. All right.
What's wrong with Fido? Call it "What's Wrong with Fido."
Yeah. What's wrong with Fido? Because they seeing something's wrong because the dog is tripping. But all right, you're not off the hook, Evan. What's something that scares you in real life?
Oh, that's easy. It's actually underneath the premise of my main character and the story in Shook.
Okay.
What scares me is dying without fulfilling why I'm here.
Ooh, okay.
Yeah. So that speaks to purpose. To I'm like it's to die without fulfilling my purpose. And the premise underneath at least my main character in my contribution to Shook is that it's the story. Someone I saw it asked about are we going to expand on the stories we write? My goal is to expand on there's a larger version of the story of the shorter version you're going to see Shook, but the premise behind the story is if you don't embrace your purpose, people die. Like their lives attached to you embracing your purpose. So the whole point of my character doing what she's done in the short, she's already sort of come to grips with what her purpose is. Mm-hmm. And this is actually a first test of her operating in that purpose. So yeah.
Okay, Evan,
I'm not trying to be too deep. But that's really what it is. I think for me, in general, as a storyteller, particularly going forward, and these guys know that, particularly going forward, to pivot my career more into someone who's writing, is to having a strong why behind the story that I can frame the story in, and the story of the removers is framed in a person who was wrestling with what their purpose was and found it in being a remover.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Something that I say all the time is never cage your greatness. So if your story is deep, Evan, just live in your truth. It's deep. We out here. Everybody felt that in their chest.
Somebody did say it was The Conjuring. Yep, I think it was The Conjuring. Yeah, that joint, man.
All right, Marcus, you're up next. What's the last story that you experienced that left you shook?
It actually wasn't a comic book story.
That's all right.
I did Chat and Draw with Michael Watson. And Michael told this story while he was drawing my character about this experience he had where he went to stay at a friend's apartment, and in the middle of the night, the police broke into the place, and the friend obviously was of another race, and the area was actually, somewhere else. And the police were called about him being in the place. So he wakes up holding on to a samurai sword, and there are the police, like 6, 7 guns pointed at him, like, put the sword down. Who are you? What are you doing in here? And he's like, I'm supposed to be here. I'm supposed to be here. Like, no, put the sword down. Put the sword down. Put the sword down. That had me shook because it's real life, and it could happen. And it of course, you see, it didn't come out to an unfortunate end, but the end could have been so unfortunate. So that kind of like when he was telling me the story, and I was like, man, we need to make a comic book out of this, because this is like, wow, it had me shook. But that actually does translate into the story that I'm doing in Shook, but not directly from Michael's experience. The story is based on a radio play that was done by Professor James E. Tokley, who is the poet laureate of Tampa Bay, Florida. And the story is about, it's about a wish or desire for retribution for something heinous, and fear that retribution won't happen.
Okay. I just need all of y'all to just take a moment and give my boy Marcus his props, because he masterfully just answered all 3 of the questions with his one story.
I mean, he had time to just think about it. You know what I'm saying? Me and Evan got thrown in straight up from back. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, come on.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I was talking about the Conjuring. I was picking up an answer.
I used to do that. I used to do that.
Props for jumping in and doing it well, but my boy Marcus came in.
I used to do that in Sunday school, man. That's hilarious. I would sit, they had all the kids that you had to know your Bible verse, and I was a pastor's son. So this particular teacher would always start the same place every Sunday. So I'd sit, so I knew I was the last kid, and I memorized the verse by the time he got to me.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah, trying to formulate.
Like, this fool's not going to start from the back. He always starts in the front. I'm going to go sit in the back. By the time it gets to me, I have memorized the whole word. I didn't even know when I walked in. I just memorized it right there.
And if you always
screwed it up, but I'm learning it as it.
If you kept on talking, I'd have had an answer, man. It was so beautiful. It would have been a nice soliloquy. I mean,
see what I'm saying? See what I'm saying? He's been singing it to you. See?
You see how your dream teammates throw you under the bus like this, Marcus?
Marvin know what he's doing.
That's my Bradley story.
Okay, we have a question from the audience.
Say the best for last, then.
An annual series. Now, I know we all got to be on the lookout for Shook 2 already, because the ladies are going to come through and show y'all how it's done. But what are your thoughts about doing a similar theme annually as our viewer has expressed, but maybe switch it up? Is horror the main place where you guys want to live, or maybe another one would be like speculative, or like all alien, or maybe switch it over to fantasy or something? Talk to me, guys. What are we thinking about books outside of Shook with the dream team? I mean, clearly y'all can handle horror, but how y'all trying to act about these other anthologies?
Well, Second Sight, the home for horror. So we want to live around the horror. But we do have a few sci-fi things coming down the line. Just a few. We do have a few children books coming down the line. Just a couple. But as far as Shook, I just saw answer a question right here. I would like to put it out twice a year.
Oh.
Twice a year. Issue 1 come out this year. Issue 2 will come out this year.
Okay.
So
CEO.
next year it'd be 3 and 4. I would like to have it twice a year.
Y'all heard it here first. The CEO has spoken. They're coming
what
through.
the plan is Shook is going to become its own imprint.
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
in becoming its own imprint, then we will be publishing limited series, 2 or 3 issues, one shots, and they will all at some point be collected into the anthology style book that Bradley is mentioning that will be published twice annually.
But see, I wasn't gonna tell them all that. I was gonna, I was gonna give them a little something to wet their lips with.
A little
But,
razzle dazzle, you know.
That's all right. That's all right. COO, handle your business, baby. You know.
Wait, this is what happens when you don't give Marcus prep time. He gives us all of the tea.
All the juicy detail. Me, you gonna talk after the podcast.
He know how I am. He knows how I am. But yeah, just the discussion of having this line of books that will cover the gamut of genres and be more specific in its curation, because as Bradley said, with Second Sight, we have what we do with John Jennings Studios. He has what he does, but with the collaboration between Second Sight and John Jennings Studios, we open the door for a lot of different things, which is why you get such a variety in the actual Shook book itself, because we're bringing together, it sounds like, 2, Second Sight and John Jennings Studio, but it's actually me, it's John, and it's Bradley. And we talk to anybody and everybody else who has input that will give us input, just to see what it is, keep our fingers on the pulse, so to speak. What is not just the consumer, but the collector is looking for. Yeah. Because these books, like you see, the historic part of this book is historic in that it's the first of its kind, having these creators, these writers in this book, having a book that is this specific in what it's about. And then it's a comic book.
See, I didn't know that at the time. Marcus had to sit me down and explain that to me. All I was trying to do was put out a book, the best anthology I can, with some of the best Black writers in the business. You know what I'm saying? But Marcus, he sat him down and was like, "Do you realize this is a book that have the most Glyph Award nominated writers ever?" I'm like, "Really?" So
Marcus said, "Catch the vision, Bradley."
I did my research. I did my research. You know it. Not just Glyph, but Eisner's too. I'm like, wow. So yeah, it's very historic.
To answer this question, we the point that we realized it was when we first even suggested putting it together, because as you hear from me and from Bradley, we are comic book guys. We're comic book collectors. I've been in the comic books for 5 decades. I'm kind of familiar with what's out there and what has been done.
Showing your age.
That's all right. He's seasoned.
and then just within the Black comic book community, and knowing the little bit of Black comic book history that I know and what we have done and where we have come from in the industry, I know that there hadn't been a book since All Negro Comics that brought together all the talent like this that has been brought together. And with the biggest difference between us and All Negro Comics is they did have a woman artist, little known, that did the due diligence. But anyway, I digress. We knew that we were putting together something special, because It's like you go through, you look through Black comic book history, and you don't see books that have a big contingent of award-winning writers and creators. You just don't see it. So it's like I said, we talked about the Dream Team and what the Dream Team represented for the United States in the Olympics. And this was the whole thought process in putting this book together. This is the Dream Team of comics. Like if I had to pick a team that I had to put up against anybody in the comic book world, there's people on this list that definitely will make it. Period.
Period. Okay.
Period.
Tell them again, Marcus. You got to add a T. Period.
Period. But yeah, we deserve, and by we, I mean the Black comic book community and the comic book community as a whole, at large. We deserve to have books that showcase the top talent.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can name books that I've collected individually from each of these people, including Bradley and Alvern and Brandon. You know, individually, all these guys. And it's like, as a comic book collector, I said to myself, man, I wish I had all these people in one book. And I know other people have said the same thing. I wish I had all these people. I wish I had a book with David Walker in it, and John Jennings and Kevin Grievous and Brandon Easton. And, you know, we asked for this stuff to ourselves and amongst each other. So I did it. Like my CEO of my company, I said, hey, Bradley, let's do this. And he said, oh, let's do it. Right.
Get it done. That's right. We love that type of energy. Oh no, my comment that I wanted to put up disappeared. Okay. Why do you creators feel has caused the proliferation of Black horror or Afro-Gothic movement? What do you creators feel has
I think
caused
that's
the
probably what.
proliferation
Yeah.
of Black horror or Afro-Gothic movement?
Well, that's a Marcus Roberts question right there. It's right up
we are more visible, and because the world in itself is more open to different people's experiences, when we say we have experiences as Black people that are specific to us, that are what we consider horrific, that may not be so much horrific to anyone else, but it's still specific to us, there's that understanding of that. Because you know, when Bradley and Evan were talking about the movies that shook them up, I was thinking, trying to figure out, you know, what it was for me. And I remember the last thing I watched was that television show Them. So, you know, it's the visibility of the Black horrific experience is out there now.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely. I was having this same conversation with a friend the other day about, like, obviously I was talking about preparing for this with you guys, and they were asking about like what my Black horror experience has been. And I was like, honestly, it's been super limited. I'm a big old scaredy cat. So I don't typically expose myself to horror in that respect very often. But to your point about like the difference in experience and visibility for like what's scary or what would be considered horror to us, we obviously went down the rabbit hole, and everybody brings it back to what was it? Get Out. I remember going to see Get Out, sitting in the movie theater, and there was a couple sitting next to me. They were mixed, you know, different races, and they were laughing at parts in this movie, and I was pissed because I'm one of those people where it's like everyone needs to be quiet. I'm watching the movie. But it was also like you can laugh at this because these aren't like inherent fears that you've experienced. You can't identify with why this is so terrifying to someone who looks like me, because this isn't even something that you have to consider. So that's another reason why I like that you guys are touching on not just horror, but horror from the Black experience. It's very valid, it's very valuable, and it hasn't had its moment. So for you guys to come now while it's having its moment on the screen and put it on the page is like a totally different thing, and I commend you for doing it.
Well, when you think about, along the same vein of what you're saying, you think about the John Jennings story, and it is at the time that the story is occurring, AIDS was a horrific thought throughout the Black community because of the prevalence of it.
Yeah.
So that fear of getting it, and now you got it, you're dying from it, and everything associated with it, even though it touches on everyone.
Yeah.
For this time period, for this story, that is a more specific, horrific type thing that, you're looking at it from a Black perspective.
Yeah, it definitely holds value because we don't typically get those type of stories with that perspective. Is it too early to hope for a creep show style TV anthology of Shook?
Actually, no. That's going to be our Mississippi Zombie and our Harvest of Horror from Caliber Comics. That's our EC style anthologies,
Okay. Well, I know we talked briefly about I mentioned Tales from the Hood earlier, and I know it's more your forte, Evan. So like when you're writing, I know you're probably translating it to the screen. Would you guys ever consider translating some of the stories in Shook to like a similar to Tales from the Crypt or Tales from the Hood type of series?
That's the plan.
Okay. And wait. So if it's the plan, I need to hear y'all's fan cast. Like, who are some actors that you feel like have to be in the Shook TV series? And I'm gonna need y'all to get like some Netflix or HBO Max money so that way the budget is on point. Cause yeah, we
With
definitely
me, I got to have Tony Todd. No, I
say
got to
again.
have Tony Todd.
Okay.
Candyman. He got to be in my show.
Yeah.
Got to. Period.
Period.
All right. Tony Todd,
Okay.
Lawrence Fishburne, Morgan Freeman. Can't leave Morgan Freeman out.
Yeah, Morgan Freeman
Samuel L. Jackson. Got.
Now, for me, because I'm working like Evan Park, who has his own Hollywood credentials, with Rodney Barnes, with Kevin Grievous, then I would defer to them and let them choose, because like my approach would be like just like I do with the books, because everything is so subjective. I get lost. Something that might seem like it's weak to one person is a strength or strong to someone else. And I'm always trying to get outside the box and bring in something new and, do something different. I'm not scared to fail. And so I'm willing to try anything. So I would have to defer to the people who have a better eye, because I'll put Bradley in there acting.
I don't want to act. I just want to be in the background looking. One of the in the background looking.
An extra? Yeah, I'm gonna need to be an extra.
Yeah, I don't want no serious roles. All I want to do is walk across screen. I take that. You see my face briefly.
There you go. All right, Evan. Yeah, obviously, we know that you could bring the energy to the screen for the Shook series, but who else would you have alongside yourself?
Who would I cast?
Yeah.
Oh wow. Well, first one's come to mind is my boy who got the role I wanted. my boy Chad Coleman, he definitely would be somebody I'd put in anything. He's doing Superman and Lois right now.
Okay.
He was the one who played Tyrese in Walking Dead. That's the role I wanted to play. Tyrese in Walking Dead. Who else? I know a few other guys who I think would be great. LaMonica Garrett.
Turn TV off.
Huh?
Turn TV off.
You too young? You can't hear me? LaMonica Garrett.
Oh no, man! I was talking to my little daughter.
Definitely Idris.
Yes, put Idris in it.
Definitely Idris. Definitely. As far as women, I would say Anjanou Ellis for sure. Anjanou is one of my favorite. The young lady Deborah who played in Them. Deborah. I'm not pronounce her last name. She has a very strong presence. Of course, I have a crush on LaShonda Lynch, so she could be whatever and anything she want to be in.
Say that. Come on, Evan.
LaShonda Lynch could be anything she want.
That's how I feel about Jonathan Majors. So
right, and so can Deborah. Why am I not getting her? I pronounce her last name.
Deborah Ayerinda.
Right, she can be whatever she want to too. So who else I like? Ooh,
Oprah Winfrey.
What was that?
Oprah. She did great in her movie. She played in Beloved. She did great in that movie.
Well, too bad the movie was too dense, and so was the book.
Talk your trash, Evan.
Well,
Go ahead.
I bet you got some good horror stories though.
I'm trying. There's another woman on the tip.
I want Oprah to write a horror story. For Oprah, if you're listening, you can write a horror story.
The one from Atlanta.
Unleash your inner killer, girl.
Man, I love Beloved. I did. I loved it.
Oh man, but who's the black girl from Atlanta? I forgot her name. Atlanta.
Zazie Beetz.
Yes.
Yeah.
She's great too. So those would be some of my choices.
Sanaa Lathan.
Sanaa too, definitely Sanaa. Sanaa kind of is older, but that doesn't mean anything.
Doesn't mean nothing.
She'd be great too, and Regina Hall would be great.
Well, you might as well
Regina.
Yeah. Let's sign the whole Batman cast. I'm telling you. We'll have the same roles, and we'll just have Bradley write it as a horror story.
One more person. One more actress. I got to say this actress, Naomi Harris.
Okay.
I saw her 28 days later.
Naomi.
Okay, Bradley.
That's my lineup.
That's a pretty solid lineup. You guys all named good people. So we got clear casting options, and like I was saying, we got to make sure we get some big budget for the show, okay, so that those special effects can be on point. Because if we get Tasty Itchy on screen, I'm gonna need some HBO money to make that happen. All right.
Yeah, there won't be no sci-fi. No sci-fi budget. Definitely no sci-fi budget. You know what I'm saying?
I feel you, Bradley. We're here. We are here.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so I feel like we're vibing and we're all connecting about these horror stories. So I feel like it's a safe space to just throw it in there. The next time y'all get ready to do an anthology, can one of y'all just make me a murderer, like make me a serial killer and put me in the story? Just think about it. You don't have to answer now. Just mull it over a little bit.
We didn't have to think about it because see one thing Bradley and I do, we publish a series of anthologies and we continually are writing stories. So it's just a matter of like I already have the story idea. Now it's just taking the time to write out those 12 pages and submitting it to Bradley. Like, hey, Bradley, you like this? And we'll publish it.
I gotta be a serial killer, but my nails are super long and I like snatch people's hearts out or something. Make it really cool, but also keep it cute.
That's one of the
Claw
things.
dagger.
Editor.
There you go. There you go.
Claw
Just
dagger.
being
Yeah.
an editor in general, I try to bring out these qualities in people in their writing and in their work. So yeah, I can make the meekest person into Freddy Krueger.
Yes.
You can be Frederica Krueger, Freddy half sister.
I'm gonna give you some more time to think on it because I'm not 100% behind that name, Marcus. But as long as the idea is there, we can work with it.
We can work with it, definitely.
All right, y'all. We made it through all of these questions. You guys got all of us hyped about Shook. Now I got to hear what y'all saying about how people can, because you guys already made your goal on Kickstarter. So you got to let the people know where can they go to pick up Shook, and when can we expect it to hit the presses?
Well, to answer the question that I just saw, the Shook will have variant covers. You have the Kickstarter cover and you have the website cover.
Okay.
Right now, the Kickstarters are done and they're funded.
Mm-hmm.
So you can't get no Kickstarter variants at all, but you can get the website variant of it, which have a different cover and a companion art book with it.
Okay.
From the website, secondsightpublishing.com. And as far as when the books will be printed up, we're hoping to get things printed up and rewards going out and pre-orders going out around May.
Okay.
That'll give creators time to get their stories done, us to edit them to a T, and get the books printed up and all of the addresses and things in and books shipped out.
All right, so we're looking like summertime fine. I'm here for it, Bradley.
Summertime fun. Yeah.
That's what we wanted to hear. That's what we wanted to hear. All right, we got people in the comments sharing their ideas about other stories. A huge horror story would be a world of men and no women. That would be a horrifying story, and I agree. 100%.
It'll be a reverse of Y, The Last Man.
Facts. Big facts. Okay. All right, so we know where to get Shook, but I'm a big believer in share your shameless plug while we got the people watching. So what other things are you guys working on, or what shameless plug do you want to share about upcoming projects or things for us to look out for?
Well, me and Marcus have a new book out. The first issue is called Sunny.
Mm-hmm.
It's our take on Child's Play, on Chucky.
Okay.
I'm working on These Damn Kids issue 2, which is 75. Hey, it's a good book. Need to read it. I was 75.
The title is definitely pulling me in. Okay.
Yeah, These Damn Kids. It's a good book. Issue 2. I've had numerous people ask when it's gonna hit. When it's gonna hit. I'm looking at March if we can get everything ironed out and things done. Okay. I'm working on my first omnibus, which is a collection of all of my stories in one book. I'm looking to have it up on the website probably next week. If not, I have a Kickstarter going for it, which I'll let y'all know about it. And just some more Mississippi Zombie, some more Harvester horror. Marcus got some things going on too. I'm gonna throw it over here to Marcus.
Come on, Marcus.
Well, I finally completed the second volume of my book, The Protector. You can find that on the Second Sight Publishing website. The volume 1 actually was nominated for a Glyph Comics Award back in 2019.
Tell them about it, Marcus.
Shameless plug, okay? I have a story I'm actually doing with Milton Davis that we hope to be coming out sometime in the fall of this year. I also have a story with Dorfeast Jean, which should be coming out around the same time. And these stories will potentially be coming out through the Shook imprint. It's just a matter of, getting things formalized there. As we mentioned, volume 2 of Shook, John Jennings and I actually are putting the final list together now, and we are reaching out to people. But, without going too much in detail or giving too much away, we've had confirmations from people like Ashley Woods and Alethea Martinez, just to name.
You guys getting to Tenerife?
Yes, she's in. You can't do horror without her. Come on now.
That's what I was gonna say. Like, y'all sleeping or not, but on top of it.
No offense to anyone else out there, because there's some very, very awesome women writers out there, but you can't do horror without her. Like,
sure can't.
Anyway, yeah, we're getting that together, and then we actually have people who are committed to volume 3.
Okay.
Yeah, we're the Shook imprint is here to stay. The Shook anthology is here to stay. So, with this introduction with the first volume was just the beginning. And then, as Bradley mentioned, with the other anthologies that we published, the Mississippi Zombie and the Harvest of Horror, which both have been top 100 graphic novels. Mississippi Zombie Volume 3 actually debuted at number 1 on Amazon Prime and stayed at number 17 for like 2-3 weeks. So
tell them about it, Marcus.
Yeah, shameless plug. I mean,
that's right.
We good at what we do. Put it like that. We're good at what we kind of know what we're doing, and we're good at it. So check us out. Publishing.com.
Come on, humble brag. We kind of know what we're doing. Yes, Marcus. What about you, Evan? You got any shameless plugs you want to share?
Yeah, just I'm still expanding the story, The Removers. The goal is to have that first draft done before the end of the month. So I'm very close. And then that's going to be a graphic novel in and of itself. I'm going to start working, at least the research part and the treatment part, my next project, which is going to be called Polaris. It's going to be crime.
Okay.
Crime. And then that's also going to be a graphic novel. That's the goal of that. It's being featured on graphic novel. And then I'm co-writing something right now with one of my boys who does a TV show, and he's a TV writer. So that I can't expand too much on, but that the goal is to hopefully have that done by April. And so my goal for the most part is to pivot more in that way, my career more in that direction. So, and this is the year that I'm going to do that with God's help.
Big things popping all through the Shook crew. We love to see it. Now, it wouldn't be me if I didn't have y'all come through with the slogan one time. So I need each of y'all to come through with your best. You're here with Black Comic Lords. All right, so Marcus, you go first since we let you have all the time last time.
Wait a minute. Say that again. Come through. What's the slogan?
You say, you're here with the Black Comic Lords. That's it.
You're here with the Black Comic Lords.
Yes, Marcus. Yes. All right, Evan, you're next.
Okay. You're here with the Black Comic Lords.
Yes, wait a minute. Evan came through real smooth with his. We love to see it.
Look, gave him the eyes and everything. Okay. All right, hold on. Let me get up close to it. Mm-hmm.
Don't do my video like
You're
that,
here
Bradley.
with the Black Comic Lord. All right. All right. You're here with the Black Comic Lord.
Yes.
Stay demented.
Wait, I'm sorry, I cut you off. Let him do it again. One more time, Bradley. One more time, I promise.
Oh, I just said you're here with the Black Comic Lords. Stay demented.
See, I like that, but I need you to give me full energy. I'm not going to leave it alone.
All right, all right. You're here with the Black Comic Lords. Stay demented.
Yes.
Very good.
Perfection. All right. Thank you, everybody, for coming out to kick it with the Black Comic Lords and chatting with the contributors to Shook, the Black Horror Anthology. You guys know where to go. Follow the links. We'll drop all the details so that way you can pick up your copies. And Derek is going to let us know what other things to be looking out for, besides the fact that your girl is going to be here tomorrow with the ladies of Black Comic Lords giving you a live about all things Far Sector. So please come through tomorrow at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And I'm going to let Derek share all of the other things you have to be looking forward to as well with this.
Well, thank you very much. First of all, I just want to say thanks to the chat, thanks to our awesome panel, and then to let everybody in the chat know that in addition to our ladies live tomorrow covering Far Sector, on Sunday we have another awesome interview lined up with Cody Ziegler. If you've heard of Cody Ziegler, then you probably heard his name either because of the comic books he's done, most recently Spider-Punk, or the What If Miles Morales, or the very new Miles Morales series that just came out. But he was also one of the writers on staff for She-Hulk, Attorney at Law, and he actually was responsible for writing episode 8. So it's going to be a great interview there. And another thing I just want to share is, in addition to our upcoming shows, we have put out a lot of content in the last few months. First of all, we have our regular or semi-regular live shows. So we've got Wakanda, Whiskey, and Blerdom. That usually takes place on Friday evenings when Paul and Mark can meet together and do that. And then we've had Real Talk with Rich. You can catch the previous episodes, or you can also look to see when we have a new one coming up. And then we've also had quite a few specials as well. Most important, we had a great interview with Jeffrey Thorne last Sunday. If you didn't get to see that, check that out. We got a lot of good information from Jeffrey, very engaging, very entertaining. We've also had a lot of other shows too, other interviews. We've covered the Milestone books and a whole series of shows, and also Image heroes of the 90s, Black heroes of Image Comics in the 90s as well. So just check those out. And then I guess I don't want to steal too much thunder, but we did cross a major milestone yesterday, which is 100 subscriptions for the channel. So just thank you to everyone that's just spread the word out, joining our shows and participating. We really appreciate all of you. And speaking of appreciation, we do have one other thing we want to do. So I hand back to I guess Brianna and Bradley, because we're gonna do a little giveaway, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So we at the beginning of this live that you should drop your comments, because anyone who dropped a comment would be entered into a chance to win a copy of Shook. And I don't know how Derek is making his movie magic happen so we can pick who the winner is. Perfect. So we've submitted the names, and drum roll, please.
All right, here we go. 18 entries. Let's see who gets it. All right, Sean Graham.
Congratulations, Sean. Make sure that you reach out to Black Comic Lords in a comment with your email, or if you're in the Black Comic Lords group on Facebook, shoot us a DM so that way we can get your shipping deets.
Yep, or another way you can do it is just send us an email directly to blackcomiclords@gmail.com. blackcomiclords@gmail.com. However you want to do it. So then we'll handle everything from there. So congratulations.
Congratulations, Sean.
Congratulations, Sean.
And for anybody watching this, if you haven't already, or if you just happen to stumble upon all of this epicity in this video and you haven't done so already, Jesus, I can't even talk. Like, follow, subscribe, all of those things. Share this video with your best friend, your grandmama, your mama, and your cousins, so that they can check out Black Comic Lords and everything that we're about. And buy like 3 copies of Shook and give the extras away for holidays, because who doesn't love to catch some Black horror in their stocking. Thank you for kicking it with us, guys, and we'll holler at y'all next time. Bye.
See you later.